We'll get that going here. Bien. Bien. Y aquí viene Trish. Here comes Trish. Yay. Okay. A little bit bigger than I anticipated. That's a good thing. Very good. Muy bien. Okay. Vamos a practicar mucho. We're going to practice a lot with past tense, seeing examples. We'll have some online quiz kind of things. We'll have some story things. We'll have some things with you actually prepping. Aquí viene Juanita. Bien. Okay. I want to start first just to see. Let's open with, did anybody have any questions about that video, the school protest video? Sleeping in the dorm? Or was that all understandable pretty much? See?
No, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
So I went down and wrote down his past tense words, and I wrote next to him if they were preterit or imperfect. And I just had a few questions on, he's going through imperfect when he was in the school and there were protests. And then he said they slept, and he said preterito. They were sleeping. It was like, I don't know, wasn't that still describing the past? And I expected that to be imperfecto. And then he said, let's see, they were there for 5 days and he used preterito on that. Do you have to use that when you're
because he said
days?
Because there were 5 days.
Okay.
So when people choose one tense or another as native speakers, they're sending you a signal.
Sure.
And once he said 5 days, in his mind immediately, he was limiting it in time. So preterito.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just tricky.
Durmieron preterito. Yeah, they slept there.
Okay.
You know, you could, if you're in storytelling mode, you could go into estaban durmiendo, they were sleeping, you could, but people will flip-flop very freely between the imperfecto and the preterito, depending on mentally which mode they're in, description versus, oh, this happened, oh, this happened, oh, this happened.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you, or am I addressing your question?
And there was one other vocabulary that I didn't understand. It was PASO with accent. Esto. Paso esto.
Pasó esto.
Yeah, paso. Paso.
Pasar pasar is used for
So
something happening.
Okay.
It's used for somebody going through an experience. It's used for having a good time. So let me show you a real quick rundown, because pasar is a super useful verb. Pasar es un verbo muy útil. It is a very useful verb, but and pasar is very versatile. So you might hear something like, kick me out of my keyboard, perdón, momentito, okay. Pasó, it might just mean it happened, you know, kind of like in the sense of it came to pass, see?
Okay.
No pasó nada, nothing happened. Okay, como por ejemplo, es muy común decir, no pasó nada. Wow, nothing happened, nothing was going on there. Okay, you might hear people use lo, or they might use la or lo. Pasó bien. Guy, I can't type. La pasó bien or lo pasó bien means he or she had a good time. Because literally they passed that time well. Yeah. When you combine pasó with por, it can take on the meaning of going through something. Como por ejemplo, mis cuñados, my in-laws, pasaron por el huracán en la Florida. Okay, my in-laws went through a hurricane in Florida. They experienced that hurricane. So pasar literally can mean to pass, like coming. Oh, and pasar is used for just when you tell somebody come in, like come through the store, come on in, right? You welcome somebody in the door, and they'll tell you as not a preterit, but as a command, pase por favor. Or pasa if it's a friendly command, if it's somebody you know. Por favor, which means come right in, come on in, okay? And you would think they would use entrar, entra por favor, but entra would sound, well, and that would get the meaning across, enter, but it sounds kind of formal. So what people really say conversationally is, pasa, pasa, come on in, pass on through. So pasar is, wow, it morphs into lots and lots of meanings. People always ask this question, ¿qué pasó? Or making it a little bit more personal, I can't get my question marks in. ¿Qué te pasó? What happened to you? ¿Qué te pasó? Wow, you show up like, well, this is how people react to me. Oh, Marilyn must have crashed her bike again. ¿Qué te pasó? Right? They're looking at my bandaged knee, my bandaged arm. Oy, ¿qué te pasó? Wow, what happened to you? So pasar is a very versatile verb, but and it's used a lot in this sense to say somebody had a good time or is having a good time. So the way you would say commonly in conversation is, I had a good time, was you'll say, la pasé bien. La pasé bien. I passed it well. And it's not talking about a kidney stone. It's talking about I had a good time. So, la pasé bien. Some people prefer to use lo with that, lo pasé bien. And there you go. I had a good time. La pasamos bien. We had a good time. So pasar is used in a lot of senses. See? Yeah.
Okay.
And these are good
Gracias.
things for you to ask about. Because it is, lots of words get thrown out. And sometimes there's more to it than just seeing that one verb pasar. Well, it means to pass, but it means more than that. Okay. Fantástico. Okay. Let's have, where is it? Oh, we're going to open with a brief story because it's brief, but it's a story in the past. So we're going to have one before we actually have to talk actively with your own ideas. Y aquí vamos. I need to make my screen bigger. Uy, tengo que engrandecer. ¿Dónde está? There it is. Allí está. There it is. Okay. Muy bien. Vamos a ver. Una historia breve, a really brief story. It's only going to be a 4-minute long, but it's a warm-up for our ears and a warm-up for our brains. Aquí vamos. Here we go.
Es nuestra membresía.
Oh, she's talking about membership.
Recibir material extra. Que disfrutes el video.
Hola, ¿cómo has estado?
Muy bien.
Oh, ¿cómo has estado? How you been? And even though Mexicans are not known for liking that has estado, how have you been? There it came up. How you been? And he's talking about very recent past. If he expresses it as como has estado, how's it going? Like in the last, this morning or early afternoon, depending on when they're talking. Okay.
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien. Hace mucho que no te veo.
A
Ya
long time since
sé,
I've
hace
seen you.
muchísimo.
Has viajado mucho últimamente, ¿no?
Oh, and look, he's gonna, has viajado. Has viajado. I wish I could make that bigger. I think I can, but I think I need to get my no, that's on. Momentito. No me ayuda. Okay, apparently it's not going to help me enlarge.
That's
that.
okay. We can just wear
Yeah.
our glasses.
Yeah. Okay.
Sí, mucho. Hice 3 viajes seguidos.
I made three trips in a row. So literally I took 3 trips in a row. And how do I know it's in a row? Because she's the word seguidos. Seguidos means one following on the other. Because seguir means to follow or to continue. So when she says viajes seguidos, it means trips followed by a trip, followed by a trip. Okay, back to back. Think of it as back to back, because so that's what seguir means, to follow or to continue one from the other. Hice 3 viajes seguidos. I made 3 trips in a row. And now she's going to say, and now I just want to be at home.
Ya quiero estar en casa, pero te voy a contar algo chistoso que me pasó.
I'm going to tell you, algo chistoso que me pasó. Something funny that happened to me.
Cuéntame.
Bueno, le pedí de favor a mi vecina.
Le pedí de favor a mi vecina. I asked my neighbor a favor. I asked that she do something. You're not going to recognize the next verb. It's a subjunctive because I asked that my neighbor do something. And because it had not yet happened, they use what they call a subjunctive. So don't worry about that. Cuidara. Le pedí de favor a mi vecina que me cuidara la casa. I asked my neighbor to take care of my house.
Que me cuidara la casa mientras yo estaba de viaje.
While I was on vacation, cuando yo estaba de viaje, while I was on vacation, because she's not limiting the vacation to like a number of days, just I was on vacation, description.
Ya sabes, darle de comer al pez,
So, feeding the fish,
darle de comer al perro,
feeding the dog,
regar el jardín,
water the garden,
recoger el correo,
picking up the
cosas
mail, like that.
Yo ya le he cuidado su casa antes.
Ya le he cuidado su casa antes. Remember the have you ever questions? Perdón, we had a blip. Hang on. Okay. So she's using she's saying like the have you ever done issue. And it's like, yeah, I have taken care of her house before when she has traveled. So she is using this present perfect. I have taken care of her house when she has traveled. And she told me there was no problem doing that. Okay.
Es cuando ella ha viajado. Así que me dijo que no había ningún problema.
Me parece un buen arreglo.
Sí.
Además, vive
like
muy
a good
cerca de tu
arrangement.
casa.
Sí, es cierto. Bueno, entonces yo le dejé una nota en la mesa.
I left her a note on the table. Le dejé, I left for her. Le dejé, I left for her a note on the table.
Con todas las cosas que tenía que hacer en la
With all
casa.
the things that she had to do.
¿Y ella hizo todo bien?
Did she
Sí.
do everything?
Hizo todo bien,
She did everything
pero
right.
en la mesa donde dejé la nota había un florero con flores.
On the table where I left the note. And now here's a description. There was a flower vase. Florero is a vase that you put flowers in. Okay. Donde dejé la nota, where I left the note behind, había un florero. There was a flower vase. And that's just a description because that flower vase was there like all the time, right?
What's the
So,
verb deje? What is that verb?
dejé.
Yeah, left one.
Dejé has many meanings, but from her context, it's obvious in this meaning,
Left
it
one
is
is
leave
left one.
behind. So we use this dejar to talk about, oh, I left a tip,
Oh,
or
It-
I left a message on the fridge for my family. Dejé una nota en el refrigerador. Para mi familia, sí, les dejé una nota. I left them a note.
okay.
So dejar means in this sense to leave behind so that somebody else can come back in and look at that, okay? Or something that's left for somebody. And they're going to talk about what she construed from this note.
Okay.
Había un florero, okay?
Ella pensó que ese florero era para ella.
She
Así
thought
que
the
se
vase
llevó
was
las
for her.
flores y me dejó un mensaje diciendo gracias por las flores.
Oh, so she thought the flowers in the vase were left behind as a thank you. She thought that the flowers in the vase were for her. So she's like, oh, thanks for the flowers.
Bueno, fue un malentendido.
Sí.
A misunderstanding, he says.
No me importaba mucho ese florero y las flores,
I didn't really
así
care
que
about that.
no le dije nada.
So I didn't say
Bueno,
anything.
eso fue el primer viaje,
It was
pero
the
el
first trip.
segundo viaje
Second
le
one,
dejé la nota
I left her the
lejos de la mesa y del florero.
this time I left the note far away from the flower vase and the flowers. Because I want my flowers left behind. Okay.
La dejé en la cocina.
I left it in the kitchen.
¿Y ella hizo todo bien?
Did she do everything
Sí,
well?
hizo todo muy bien,
Did everything great.
pero
But
estaba cerca de la nota una cajita con galletas.
a box
Y ella
of cookies
pensó
was near the
que esa
note.
cajita con galletas
She
era
thought
para
the cookies
ella.
were for her.
Entonces se llevó la cajita y me dejó un mensaje.
So she took the box. La cajita, it's a little box. Caja es box, cajita, little box. So she took the little box of cookies and she left me a message. She left a message that said, thanks for the cookies.
Decía, gracias por las galletas.
Otra vez, otro
Again,
malentendido.
Misunderstood.
Sí.
Qué
Misunderstanding.
gracioso.
Sí, bueno, no me importaban mucho las galletas.
And now notice she uses imperfecto. Oh, it didn't matter to me so much. No me importaba. I didn't care. It didn't matter. No me importaban mucho las galletas. Okay, the cookies didn't matter to me so much. So I didn't say anything. Así que, so that. Así que no le dije nada. So I didn't say anything.
Galletas, así que no le dije nada. Pero para el tercer viaje
Third trip.
le dejé la nota
I left
en
the
una
note.
repisa cerca de la puerta,
I left it near the door.
lejos de todo.
Far away from everything
¿Y
else.
ella hizo todo bien?
Sí, hizo todo muy
She
bien,
did everything
pero
great.
cerca de la nota había una vela. Y ella pensó,
But this time, near the note was una vela, a candle. And this is something that people frequently give for a gift, right?
que la vela era para ella. Así que
She
se la
thought it was for
llevó
her.
y me dejó un
She took it.
mensaje que decía, gracias por la vela.
Thanks for the candle.
¿Ella se llevó un adorno de tu casa?
She took
Sí.
a decoration
Lo
off your
malo,
That's right.
me la regaló una amiga.
house. Oh, the bad thing is that Me la
Present.
regaló una amiga. A
The
friend
present.
gave it to me. That candle, a friend had given it to me.
Bueno, la próxima vez yo te cuido tu casa.
Next time, I'll take care of your house. Yo te cuido la casa. Next time, I'll take
Ay,
care of
sí,
your
por
house.
favor. ¿Harías eso por
Would
mí?
do that? Do that?
Claro,
Yeah.
hay muchas cosas tuyas que me gustaría tener.
Oh, yeah, sure. There are lots of your things that I would like to have.
Ay, qué
You're
malo.
a bad one.
Si te
You're a-
gustó.
Oh, perdón. Yeah, sorry, we're getting some blips here. I think I've got some internet glitches on my end. Perdón, sorry about that. I think this is on my end because I had an issue with my 9 o'clock call. Anyway, but that's a nice little intro, and I'll send you the link to that so you can listen to it again. And vale la pena. It is worth the effort to listen to that again and put on the subtitles and kind of, ponder what they're saying, follow them along. And you'll notice when she refers back to things, she's also, and this is what makes it hard for listening. Your brain is thinking, okay, preterite imperfect. Oh my God, now she switched back to present tense, but this is what, we do that. And now she's got pronouns all over the place, right?
Mhm.
Le dejé una nota. I left her, right? I left her a note, meaning I didn't leave her. I didn't pick her up and put her in a chair. I left something for her. Le dejé, but also la dejé. So if you say una nota, a note, la dejé means I left it, the note. La dejé, la dejé en la cocina. I left it in the kitchen, right? Instead of someplace else. Or la dejé cerca de la puerta. I left it near the door. So when you hear a la dejé, I left a thing, it. In this case, she's talking about a note, right? Or she uses it with llevar. Llevar means to carry something, to take it away, to transport it, right? Se la llevó means she took it with her. She took it with her. She took it for herself. Se la llevó, right? She took the candle or she took the box of cookies and she took it for herself. Se la llevó. Okay, so you're kind of sorting through all these. So it's worth it to go back and listen to that again. Very much worth it to do that, to kind of sort out what are they saying. Okay, bien?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Bien.
we got a threat now if the neighbor is asking me to keep the maintaining their house, like taking care of their house. Oh, thank you for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of very useful words. You heard dar de comer, which means giving to eat, which means you're feeding something. Dar de comer al pez, dar de comer al perro, feeding the dog, feeding the fish, right? You had dejar, which is leave something behind, and dejar means other things as well. But we won't go into that yet today. That's kind of a picky subject, but here it was what she left behind, right? And llevar, to take something away, right? Se la llevó, she took it away with her. So a lot of useful verbs that people do use quite a lot. Okay, a ver. Bien. Okay.
Technical question.
Sí, sí.
Is everybody seeing everyone else? I'm only seeing me, and I'm not sure that matters at the end of the day, but
Do you need to flip on your gallery view?
I didn't touch anything, so everything
At
was
first,
fine.
I could only see me, but now I see everybody.
I see
After that little
everybody.
glitch, I see everybody now.
Okay,
I-
mine says gallery, so
It
I'm not
does say
sure.
gallery.
Yeah.
Mm. I have not got a spotlight on anybody. Sometimes it just
Okay,
spotlights whoever is talking.
I'm gonna leave and then just rejoin, hopefully. I'll be
Okay.
back.
Yeah, okay. We're going to take a look at, have I shown you guys the Superman story? I think not. Superman
Haven't
story.
seen it.
It would ring a bell. You would remember. Okay.
No.
We're going to take a look at a Superman story. And it is going to, this is another nice step before we get to our talking segment. Okay. The purpose of this is, it's going to give you a 50-50 choice. It's going to give you the verb already conjugated in both preterito and imperfecto. So you're going to see one of two choices. And when we click on whatever you're going to choose, it'll give you a little pop-up box to tell you, you chose right, or oops, not this one, the other one, and why. Okay. So it's a fun little drill because you don't have to think about a ton of conjugations. You've already got the verb conjugated for you, but conjugated in both imperfecto and preterito, and you're deciding not on the conjugation per se, but rather on, should it be in the descriptive or habitual imperfecto tense, or should it be in the event-oriented, limited in time, preterito kind of sense? Okay, let's take a look at the site. And again, I'll give you the link to this so that you can play with it later. Super hombre, más rápido que una bala, faster than a bullet. Bala is a bullet. Más potente que una locomotora, faster than a train. They don't say speeding train. More powerful, más potente, perdón. More powerful than a locomotive, literally a train. Okay. Haga clic. Click on the preterite or the imperfect para ver una explicación, to see an explanation. So before we decide on a click, let's look at, and we have to break this sentence into two halves because we've got two verbs, right? We got two different actions going on. And Kal-El, okay. Kal-El is, I think, Superman, as his birth name, yeah? Su nombre, sí, al nacer, his name upon being born on that other planet, en Krypton, cuando nació en Krypton. Okay. Cuando Kal-El, when Kal-El was young, cuando Kal-El era joven. Wow, you got this one down. You know why? Because you've seen a bunch of examples. Cuando era joven, cuando era niño, cuando era adolescente. Yeah, okay. Yay. This one should be and is starting to become a reflex for you. Okay. Cuando Kal-El era joven, bien, es el imperfecto porque expresa la edad, because it expresses age. That's why in the past, that's why we use imperfecto. When he was young, he lived on planet Krypton.
Vivía.
Vivía. Sí, bien. It is vivía. It is imperfecto because it's an habitual action. So what that sentence would really mean in English, what is, when Kal-El was young, he used to live on, or he was living on the planet Krypton. Yeah. And notice planeta is one of those odd words. It's el planeta. It's el planeta, la planeta. El planeta, it's a Greek thing. I think it's Greek, masculine Greek, and therefore they carried that over. Okay. Pero un
Mixed
día,
gender. That's a mixed gender.
it looks like it should be la planeta, but it's always el planeta. El planeta Krypton. Pero un día sus padres, but one day his parents said goodbye to him. So it's despidieron or despedían.
Se despidieron.
Despidieron. Bien. They said goodbye to him. It only takes so long to say goodbye. Yeah. They said goodbye. Se despidieron de él y and they put him on a spaceship.
Pusieron.
Pusieron or ponían? They put him on.
Pusieron.
Pusieron. Yes, sí. Lo pusieron en una nave espacial. They said goodbye. They put him on a spaceship. Para salvarlo, to save him de la explosión de Krypton. Okay. So the whole sentence sounds like this in a flow. Pero un día sus padres se despidieron de él y lo pusieron en una nave espacial para salvarlo de la explosión de Krypton. Ok. Después de un viaje largo, after a long trip, he arrived in a town in Kansas.
Llegó.
Llegó or llegara?
Llegó.
Oh, and it won't be llegó, it'll be
Llegó.
llegó.
Yeah, llegó.
Llegó.
He arrived.
Llegó,
Yeah.
he arrived. See, yeah, he arrived. And again, so notice all the things like despidieron, lo pusieron, they all move the story forward. They tell you in sequence what action comes after the other and they're moving forward what is actually happening in the story, or what happened in the story. Llegó a un pueblo en Kansas donde Jonathan y Martha Kent, where they found him. Lo means a him. Him they found.
Encontraron.
Lo encontraron. So here you got your series or sequence of events, which is going to dictate preterito. Mom and dad said goodbye. Mom and dad put him in the spaceship. He arrived, boom, okay, in Kansas. And Jonathan and Martha Kent found him. And that segs us into the spaceship arrived. Ooh, now they found him. Lo encontraron. Lo encontraron. They gave him the new name of Clark Kent. Ellos le dieron el nombre nuevo de Clark Kent. They gave him a name. And again, it's moving the story forward. Oh, when we've got here, querer will not mean wanted. It will mean loved his parent, loved his adoptive parents. Clark loved his adopted parents very much.
Quería.
It's an emotional feeling. He loved them. We don't know how long he loved them. It's just something that was always a part of his life in the past. It's description, really. It's description of an emotional feeling, not an emotional reaction, but an emotional feeling that went on for a long time. Clark quería mucho a sus padres adoptivos. He loved his adoptive parents very much. Y siempre, and he always did lots of chores. Quehaceres are chores. Para ayudarlos en casa. He always did a lot of chores. We've got a siempre.
Siempre hacía.
Hacía. So why do we switch to, we have lots of preterito in the first part of the story. This happened, and then moving it forward, this happened, and moving it forward, this happened, and moving it forward, this happened. But then we say, here's how he felt about his parents. He loved them, and he always did a lot of chores to help them around the house, en casa. Okay? Hacía muchos quehaceres. He used to do a lot. Oh, Clark had a dog.
Tenía.
Tenía.
Tenía. It's just a description. He had a dog. We're not saying how long, just that, or not saying when he got the dog, just that he had a dog. Okay. Tenía un perro. He had a dog who was called, whose name was Crypto.
Llamaba.
Se llamaba. Every single time you say somebody's name was, we cannot peg that in time. Saying his name was is essentially a description of what we called him. And we always called him that. If you called somebody that in the past, you didn't do it once. It's just what everybody called him, right? So, un perro que se llamaba Crypto. And they had a good time together, juntos. They enjoyed each other together. They had a good time together every day, cada día.
Divertían.
Yeah.
Divertían.
Se divertían. It's hábito. Okay? They played together all the time, is what you're saying, essentially. They had a good time. Okay. Now we're going to have some time clues that help us mark this next one. Un día, Clark, we wouldn't say one day Clark knew. We would say one day Clark found out the truth.
Supo.
Supo. Okay. And un día Clark supo la verdad sobre su doble identidad. One day he found out the truth about his double identity. And look at the description we have at the top. It's supo, pretérito, porque aprendió algo por primera vez. It's preterit because he learned something for the first time. So with saber in pretérito means you learned something for the very first time, meaning you found out. Okay.
But isn't that clear from that, like from the un día, that can be the specific, like it can be a point. It can point into that this thing is preterita.
Yeah, un día is meant to be the big fat clue.
Yeah. Okay.
That you're supposed to say, "Ooh, oops, I'm on the alert now." Yeah, you're right. See, tienes razón. So here is, and that is meant as a time marker, as a big fat clue. But you know what? Even if I took un día out, it would be pretty logical reading that story that it would mean, supo can only mean found out, right? But the un día is an extra clue, right, for you as a beginner to say, this is going to be a one-time thing.
But it's harder to know. Like I think that it. Well, I don't know. I think that it's like without the un día it's harder to identify which one is it preterito or imperfecto. So
Tienes razón. You are correct in thinking that, because this is newer for you. You're right that without that un día clue, that un día clue is there for you as a beginner, because this is designed as for people who are beginners with. So I, as somebody who would hear and read more, has heard and read more over the years, it would not amaze me for them to take out the un día and just read Clark supo la verdad. Oh, Clark found out the truth. But because they know you're looking for clues about my context. What do I do? And that's a contextual clue. Okay. So know that in a conversation, it would be not strictly necessary to have un día, but that is there to help you get another context piece in the puzzle. Sí. Bien. Okay. Un día, Clark supo la verdad sobre su doble identidad. Oh, Cuando sus padres, when his parents told him that he was Superman. Uh-oh, now we got a hard one.
Dijeron.
When his parents told him,
Dijeron?
Dijeron.
it is dijeron, because his
Mhm.
parents
Cuando.
told him it's a concluded action. Yeah. It is probably more natural conversationally for you to say, oh, his parents told him this, his parents told him that. It is moving that information forward to say they said this, and that's over quickly. His parents told them that he was Superman. This is a harder one. Fue or era?
And,
Era. Hmm?
It's era.
Was.
Now, whether to use fue or era is harder. Sometimes it's harder even for experienced speakers. So no, that might be the hardest one on the whole list.
What does it say if you hover over the fue?
If you hover over the fue, it's going to tell you no. It's
Okay.
imperfecto because it's description. He was Superman. Well, we're talking about he was.
All along he was.
All along. There you go. All along
Okay.
he was. Yeah, that's what it implies.
Super hombre.
All along. This was his identity. Yeah. Okay. So if you're looking at the difference between era and fue, fue is often limited by time. Okay, so I'm going to give you two examples of when we can use fue and when it will be obvious that it's limited by time. Here's example number one. Fui a una fiesta ayer. I went to a party yesterday. Y fue un evento excelente.
In that video about the protesting, he said that it was very fun, and he said fue muy divertido.
And he's talking about, he is signaling that to you that
Just that one event was very
that one
fun.
event, right?
Okay, that was a
Exactly.
question I had.
So know that if people use fue, they're in their mind communicating to you, they're limiting it to, oh, that one time, wow, that was great, or that was awful, or whatever it was. Yeah. The other example where you might use fue, but there is definitely a time limit, is I could say, por ejemplo, Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama were presidents. Bill Clinton, George Bush, y Barack Obama eran presidentes. They were presidents because they used to be presidents. But if I want to be very specific, and what my emphasis is to tell you a time limit related to that, I might say Barack Obama fue presidente por 8 años, por 8 years. Okay, to tell you the amount of time. And then I'm probably going to seg into using fue, because in my mind, I'm telling you, oh, I'm going to give you a time period. So I'm going to use era. It's not just a description of what he used to be, but the emphasis is rather, well, he was this for this amount of time. So era and fue are the two that's like the trickiest one. Okay. Okay. Let's check out the last sentence in this segment. Clark spent, oh, now pasar, here comes pasar again. It raises its ugly little head, but it's really not an ugly head. It's great. He spent 10 years.
Pasó.
Pasó 10 años. And we've got a limited time, right? The emphasis is it's started at this time period and it ended then, right? Pasó 10 años con su familia adoptiva en Kansas. And then he started to work as a reporter for the Daily Planet. Y entonces,
Empezaba. Empezaba.
Empezó.
I'm going to click and show you. Oh, no, not empezaba, guys. It is
Because
empezó. So let's look
Oh,
at
they
this. I heard a
started.
lot of empezadas, but it's empezó.
because
Because he started to work. He spent 10 years in this place and then he started to work. I'm moving from the 10-year period into a
so the
beginning.
starting is a definitive ending action. He started it.
Exacto.
Okay.
Not,
Okay,
not
event-
it's
and-
ongoing.
The
Let's
event
look at-
was that the event was starting. So
Exacto, muy bien.
Yeah.
The event, it was an event and it started.
It
So
started. Okay.
think about this. Empezar is one of those verbs. You can conjugate it, preterito imperfecto. You can, absolutely. But in practice, how are you going to hear it more? Preterito. In practice, you hear it more because how do we use started? We tend to, and I can only say tend to because it's perfectly valid to use this verb as empezaba sometimes. But what do we usually say? Empezó a llover. It started to rain. Empezó el concierto. The concert started. Por ejemplo, mis hijos empezaron a hablar. My kids started to talk. And most of the time when we use started, it's usually in a very event oriented. We don't as frequently use empezar in this idea. Here's a different idea. Empezaban a jugar al voleibol cuando llegó su amigo. They were starting to play volleyball when their friend came on the beach, when their friend arrived. Then empezaban a jugar, they were starting, is correct. But because you're describing, this volleyball game was going on the beach and now their friend walked onto the beach.
Yeah.
It just percentage wise, this is like eyeballing the situation. Most of the time when we talk, we use empezar as an event of something truly, truly beginning, not a description of this was going on and then somebody came in. So what are you more likely to hear? You're more likely a higher percentage of the time to hear empezó.
Okay.
Or hear
I don't want to beat this one dead, but I was thinking of an example here, and maybe you could help me think through it. So this class, esta clase empezó la 10. But if I'm trying to think, how would I say that this class, as in this advanced class, it always starts at 10.
Oh, always started?
Always started, or it's
Siempre siempre empezaba la clase a las 10.
Yes.
It always started at 10, right? So empezaba, that imperfecto will be for habitual, a regular event schedule, or for a description. But so, it's always hard to gauge, but empezar is frequently more event oriented, unless you're really talking about a habit. It is a very, very high percentage. You're very likely to hear it as an event. Okay. You know, all these verbs exist all of them have a conjugation in all those tenses, but you know, you're more likely maybe to hear it used in that preterito, just chit-chatting with somebody, than the other way. More likely. Just saying. Okay. Okay. Bien.
That was a good little homework. If you have more like that, I'd like those. The Superman. I
Okay.
like-
So here's what we're gonna do. I will send you the link to this particular page.
Yeah.
You are going to see phase 2.
Oh, will you
You're gonna
include
see
that,
this.
the one that we just
Oh,
learned?
Yeah. Oh, look,
You
here's the
will you
top.
include this one?
Oh, yeah. Sí, claro.
And
So-
one more thing though, I just wanted to know about, like, if you don't mind to give the
Sí.
example for the quiso, because you're talking about the feeling and quería.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna use? I mean, like, I just wonder, like, you know, what kind of example that makes me understand better, if you're using quiso.
Okay. Buena pregunta. That's a good question. So before I go to that question, I'm just going to show you, when you see the Superman thing, you're just going to scroll down.
Okay.
It's got part 2.
All right.
And you're gonna do the same thing we did, and it's gonna click it in this little, you'll see in the little box if you guessed right. But before you go clicking on one verb or the other, your 50-50 shot. And it's better than flipping a coin, because you're read the whole sentence, look for the whole context of the whole meaning of the sentence.
Can we print that?
Oh yeah, you'll be able to print that out if you like. See.
Okay.
Yeah, sure you can. So, okay, so you're going to get the bottom half of it. I'm going to let you do that as a follow-up.
Good.
And, but let's revisit, because this is a really good question on that verb querer. Okay, so let's look at querer. Just like I told you that empezar, wow, you're way more likely. And you see my blank screen here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at my double screens and just making sure. You're not seeing the old screen. Okay. Just like with empezar, you know, you can use it both in imperfecto and preterito, but you're just percentage-wise more likely to hear preterito, okay? You're just, I mean, you know, it always depends, but you're just more likely. Okay, let's look at querer. Querer is one of those verbs that has 2 meanings. It means to want, and it also means to love. And usually, you know, to love in a very general fashion, not necessarily romantic kind of love. Okay, so we use querer to say, quería mi perro cuando era niña. I loved my doggy when I was a little girl. Quería mis padres. I loved my parents. Quería mis primos. I loved my cousins. Quería a mi mejor amiga en el colegio. I loved my best friend at school. Okay. Querer can be used for romantic love, but it's a very generic love verb. So it can mean.
Does that to love meaning only apply in the past tense, or is that in kind of, you know, past, present, future?
Oh yeah, you can use it. Yeah. Querer, you can use past, present, future. Yeah. Sí. Okay. But querer also means to want. So it's like, you know, it's got flip-flop, double duty, right? Okay. So the sentence that was in question, it was an excellent question, because the sentence had been, Clark quería mucho, Clark. Uy, it kicked me out of my keyboard. Perdón. Momentito. Ok, vale, aquí vamos. quería mucho a sus padres. Okay, Clark loved his parents very much. Why not quiso? He's not living with his parents anymore. Isn't that over and done? But quería is talking about an emotion, and an emotion that was not a reaction to something, but an emotion that went on, a long-held sentiment, a long-held feeling, something that went on for a very long time. So essentially, you could say it's both a description. Oh yeah, it's a description of how he felt, that he loved somebody. Okay. You could also say it just went on for a long time and there was no really clear-cut beginning and end. You know, oh, I loved my parents for 5 years. No, that's not the way we talk. Yeah, we're not limiting. So loved is not limited to time. Okay. Also, to be honest, wanted is not limited to time either. So it kind of doesn't matter if you mean querer as wanted or loved. And both need imperfecto. Both need imperfecto. Because I wanted something, we can't really limit when that feeling was going on. But it was going on for quite some time. You wanted something, but it's not limited in time. And similarly, loved is not limited in time. Both of those are describing the mental or emotional state that somebody was experiencing, but it's not a moment in time on a timeline.
But what do you think? What do you say? Like if like I used to love that person, for example, like ex boyfriend or whatever, So used to.
Quería, but still.
It's still quería?
But yeah, because quería means used to.
Yeah.
Because it can mean used to. Quería. Okay, if I say.
I thought it's because it's like, for example, she's mentioning like, okay, so in between, like, in the period of like 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, that they're in relationship, and then it's done so that you can use quiso. No,
that's a good question, but no. Okay, bien. Quiso, querer gets 2 very special meanings in preterit. Quiso is one of the verbs that starts to morph the actual meaning of the verb once you plug it into preterito mode. Okay, so quiso can mean wanted. It'll almost never mean loved. But here's how you hear it more frequently, quiso. So I'll give you an example, un ejemplo.
Oh, so quiso never mean to love. Quiso never mean love. It's just want. Is that what you're saying?
No, quería can mean either loved or wanted.
Right.
It doesn't matter
quiso?
if you mean wanted or loved. Both need the imperfecto, but quiso will be used in this way. Okay, por ejemplo, Clark quiso salvar el planeta. Clark quiso salvar el planeta. That does not mean that he wanted to save the planet. No. Clark quiso salvar el planeta means Clark tried to save the planet. He intended to save the planet. And if we make querer, if we make querer preterito with a no in a negative sense, it shifts the meaning even more. So, por ejemplo, Clark no quiso ayudar Lex Luthor. And now, no quiso. This you actually do hear a fair amount of time, or not super frequently, but when you do hear it, it will mean this. Clark refused to help
Okay, so, oh,
Lex Luthor.
okay.
No quiso, no quisieron, no quisimos, no quise means refused. It just does. Querer is one of a small group of verbs that really, really changes in meaning when we flip it into preterito. So if I want to say, I loved my ex-boyfriend, even if I don't love him anymore,
Yeah.
even though it'll still be,
Quería.
yo quería a mi exnovio. I loved my ex-boyfriend, even though it's over. Because I used to. And I don't really know. I'm not. When did it start? When is it over? I don't know. I just. Yeah.
You might know when it was over.
You might know when it was over. Okay, so here's how you will know it was over. Nos separamos. Sí. Or people might say nos rompimos. Las relaciones. They might say we broke up, we split up, we separated. Okay, those are okay in preterito because it's an event. When you broke up, boom, done and over. Yeah, okay. But whereas these are events, we broke up. This is something that went on for a long time. Even though it is over, it was a feeling. Emotions and feelings. A good thing to know is that emotions and feelings, when you're talking about this was an emotion that was a long ongoing thing, they tend to be in imperfecto. So think about this. When you say I used to like, it's gustaba, it's imperfecto. Okay. Cuando era niña me gustaba subir los árboles. When I was a little girl, I used to like climbing trees. Me gustaba subir, me gustaba trepar, climb up. Me gustaba trepar los árboles. I used to like it. Even though I don't climb trees anymore, because I fall, break my neck and my hip and everything else, right?
Correct.
Okay, so here's the difference with gustar. So I used to like, gustaba. I used to love, quería. These are emotional feelings we had for a long time.
Okay.
But now let's contrast gustar with, I could say, me gustaba subir árboles, I liked. But now let's talk about liked as a reaction to something that you did. Por ejemplo, vi la nueva película de Star Wars. I saw the new Star Wars. Oh, vi la nueva serie. I saw the new series. Vi la nueva series de Star Wars y no me gustó mucho. I didn't really like it that much. Now it's a reaction, not what I used to like for a long time, but what my reaction was after I saw that movie. No me gustó mucho. I didn't like it that much. Okay, or me gustó mucho. Wow, I really liked it a lot. But now when I'm saying I liked it, it's not the same as I liked climbing trees. No. Because that was something that went on in my childhood. Often, I don't know how often, a lot, that it made a real impression on me, versus This is the reaction I had after watching this many times.
Right.
So people will choose that one tense or the other to talk to you about a habit in the past. And that love my ex-boyfriend was a habit in the past, even though it's over with. It wasn't a one-day thing. Yeah. There's a reaction. Me gustó. I liked it. That was my gut reaction when I saw it. Oh, the same thing happens with, I'm going to plug this in your brain because it's an emotional thing, but it's an event. And I'll show you why. A ver, let's take a look at this verb, enamorarse, to fall in love. Most of the time when you hear this, it's preterito. It's preterito. Because your reaction is, oh, they fell in love. Boom. Yeah. Even though I know a lot of people may say, well, does it happen suddenly? Well, yes, in their minds it does. So this is how you will hear it. Me enamoré de él. I fell in love with him. Me enamoré de él. I fell in love with him. Okay. Or if you're talking about a couple, two people, that they fell in love with each other, se enamoraron. They fell in love. And that is not talking about they loved each other, right? They loved each other is talking about a long time relationship. Se querían mucho. But they loved each other, how they used to feel for we don't know how long, is not the same as, ooh, they fell in love. That's an event. So you'll hear enamorarse much more in preterito. Because they fell in love at a certain point in time. And now, after many, many years together, se querían mucho, they loved each other a lot, meaning over the course of time. And people choose that one type of past imperfecto versus the other type of past preterito to tell you whether it was, here's the start of their love affair, they fell in love. And, oh, they loved each other. Oh, they just always did throughout their relationship. They'll choose one tense or the other to signal if they're describing it as a long-term thing or an event. Así es. So it is. It probably still feels a bit confusing, yeah? See? But trust me, enamorarse is usually preterito because it's viewed as, oh, they fell in love. Here's the beginning of their timeline of the love story. They fell in love. It's the beginning of that timeline. Se enamoraron. They fell in love. But if you just start talking about, oh, well, they loved each other for years and years. It's se querían. Se querían por mucho tiempo. They loved each other for a long time. I don't know how long, just a long time. And we're not pegging an end to it. So even if you have an ex-boyfriend, it's still going to be quería. Or, you know, it's still going to be. Emotions are often used with imperfecto when we're talking about them in a descriptive sense. But when that emotion is a reaction to something that happened, then it's a preterito. And that's in very, very limited situations. right? I played golf. Ooh, I hated it. Boom, reaction. Yeah. I played golf twice and I hated it. No me gustó para nada. It's a reaction, right? But when you talk about your longtime feelings, it's imperfecto. So listen for that in the stories, because the more you hear it in the examples, the more you get that feeling. And it sometimes you just need to let it incubate and give it time. You just need to. You need to hear a lot of stories. Here we go. Let's create some stories. Vamos a crear. Vamos a inventar. Vamos a inventar cosas que podemos decir. We're going to invent some things we can say about these. Okay. Hearing those examples is really going to build your ability to distinguish when we do, you know, one tense or the other. But sometimes we need to create our own stories, because sometimes we need to tell the story. Okay, aquí. Si vamos a hablar si vamos a hablar de las preparaciones de un viaje. We're going to talk about preparations for a trip. Let's look at this suitcase. ¿Qué podemos decir? What can we say? Something in the past about this. And there are no wrong ideas. Perdón, otra vez.
Puso el cepillo la dientes en la maleta.
Puso, he put.
Puso.
Puso la bebida y los lentes and the glasses, ¿sí?
Sí.
En la maleta, sí. He put them in. He put them in because, you know, it's the packing in la maleta. Trying to lengthen out my. ¿Dónde está la flechita? Aquí. Okay. ¿Qué más? What else can we say?
¿Estaba empacando su maleta para su viaje?
Estaba empacando
su maleta para su...
Sí,
Oh.
Su maleta. Sí, sí, sí. Su maleta.
Para su viaje.
Para su viaje. Yeah, he was packing. If you're talking about now, if you say that as estaba empacando su maleta, or you can also phrase it this way: estaba haciendo su maleta. Hacer la maleta is a common. Hacer la maleta means making the suitcase, but it means packing it. Okay, so people might use. You can use either one.
Okay, so which one is more common to use? Haciendo instead of empacando?
Depende. Really depends. No importa mucho. Yo hacer la maleta. I use hacer la maleta. Para mí es más natural. But now, if you say estaba empacando or estaba haciendo su maleta para su viaje, somebody is going to sit there and expect and what else? Because you're describing now. Okay, so perhaps a little more natural, just isolated as an isolated comment out of context. If you're going to start with estaba empacando su maleta, I might, who I'm saying that to would expect you're going to have a follow-up. That's not the only thing you're going to say because you're describing. Okay, so I might tag on something like this. Cuando recordó que necesitaba su cantimplora. Cantimplora is a water jug, yeah? Cuando recordó, when he remembered that he still needed description. His water bottle. If you're
I
going to
went-
start with estaba empacando, a person listening to you is going to expect that you're leaving that hanging. You're starting a description. And they're going
Oh.
to think, oh, and what else do you want to say? And so if you just leave that on its own, it's going to
Okay.
sound like it's a sort of dangling thing. And they say, well, and what else? And
Oh,
you're
I
just-
thought that you're using that para su viaje. It's already explaining why you're packing your luggage, you know.
they're expecting another action to follow up
Oh.
with this. That's what they're
Oh.
expecting. Not just
Okay,
trip,
okay.
but they're going to expect. I mean, that is the essence of this imperfecto, that somebody says
Okay.
this, and then the listener expects, well, tell me what else. That's what they expect. But you can do that. You can do that. Okay, what else might we say about this?
I went similar, but in preterito. Yo empaqué una maleta para vacaciones.
Empaqué a mi maleta para mis vacaciones. Sí, mis vacaciones. I packed my suitcase and yep, done with, okay? And that can absolutely stand there in isolation because I did that and they're really not expecting that you're going to describe every single thing. Okay.
La esposa le dijo que la maleta es demasiado lenta,
Too slow or too heavy?
full.
Oh, lleno.
Lleno,
Okay.
llena.
Okay. My husband said that the suitcase is too full.
No. La esposa le dijo.
Ah,
La esposa le dijo que la maleta es demasiado lenta.
la
Lenta.
esposa le dijo,
Dijo.
the wife told him,
Sí,
because it's a guy's arm, la esposa le dijo, and now we need a que, because
que
she said that. She told him that. La esposa le dijo que la
la
maleta
maleta
estaba
está
muy llena. It was really, like, estaba muy llena. It was really full.
sí.
See? Okay, see. Description said an event, but this is how it looked. Too much stuff. Description. Así es. So it is. Let's take
One
a look
little
at
question on that.
Easy.
I was looking up verbs and I noticed empacar, E-M-P-A-C-A-R. So I thought it would conjugate empaco like with a C-O and you've got Q-U.
that is a spelling thing, because what happens if I spell that as, and I have to think hard,
That's what I thought.
this does not allow me to pronounce the word empaque,
Oh, okay. It'd be
because
empace.
CE is say.
Okay,
So I would have to be changing the verb empacar and saying empase.
how about if it's with the he, with the O at the end? Would it be C-O?
Oh, then that's okay, because CO is co.
Okay,
Empacó doesn't need a spelling change because CO keeps the empacar sound,
okay,
right?
okay.
CE does not keep the k sound in empacar or empaque. Empaque, we need a QUE to get it back to a k sound. It's just a spelling change.
Okay,
So, okay, you looked at the verb empacar and you think it's empaque. You said it right. It's just that if you spell it, you got to put a spelling change in.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So empacar, you have in your brain empacar, cad. Okay, empaque. Well, that is correct. You do pronounce it empaque, but to spell it, I have to have a spelling change to make sure
Okay.
that it's not CE. But and the way I get to how do I make CE go back to a k sound? I can't say
Yeah.
C. I can't spell it CUE. Then it would be empacue. I don't
Okay.
have an U in there. Yeah, it's got to change to
that
a
makes
Q.
sense.
So
Oh, thanks, Nora. I was doing the same thing. Empacua. I use
Yeah.
CO too.
So
So
CO is
good thing
okay.
you're asking.
when you say it, your brain is saying empacar, empaque. But that's right. Yeah, it is pronounced empaque. It's just that you spell it differently.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So verbs that do that are called car, gar, zar verbs. So I'm going to show you very, very briefly what kinds of verbs, and they'll only do this for Joe, because that's the only ending that gets an a ending. So you'll hear
Conosco is one.
yeah. Okay, so por ejemplo, llegar, llegué, right? Sacar, to take out, like the trash, or yeah, take something out, right? Saqué. Oh, muy importante, buscar.
Oh,
If you want to say I look for, it's busqué, but I have to spell it with a QU. These are for English learners. They are called zar verbs. Any verbs that end in CAR, GAR, ZAR will get a yo form with a spelling change, right? Llegar has to become llegué. I need that little U, which is silent, to stand in and make the G go into a hard G sound. Car verbs like this, saqué, I need to have that. Buscar, busqué, and empezar for yo has to come empecé. I began. I started.
okay.
It's a spelling change. So you're producing the correct sound when you say it. You just need to spell it differently. That's all.
Okay.
It's just okay. Bien. Pop that in there. Bien. A ver. Bueno, okay, let's take a look at this little one here. See, aquí tenemos no es un tren, es un camión. It's kind of a fancy looking bus, right?
How about tranvía?
Tranvía, sí, se puede decir tranvía. Okay, unas ideas, some ideas with this one.
Las personas esperaron por 15 minutos para tomar el tranvía.
Sí, esperaron, they waited for la tranvía, ¿no? Tranvía. Esperaron la tranvía. They waited for tranvía is a good word, see? Okay. Now, if I were describing it, I could use esperaban la tranvía. Esperaban la tranvía cuando llegó el guía. they were waiting for the tranvía when the guide arrived. Yeah?
Yeah.
Es posible. Okay. Esperar. Muy bien. And it kind of depends on what you're saying. If I'm talking about they were waiting and now something happened, right? That's a comparison. But I could just say, esperaron la tranvía. They waited for that trolley bus. Sí. Posible. They waited for it. And, oh, now they're in the process of getting on, right? Okay. Bueno.
I saw stand in line is hacer cola. So I
Hacer
thought
cola.
hicieron cola?
Hicieron cola. Hicieron cola. They waited in line. Hicieron cola para la tranvía. Sí, exacto. Muy bien, muy bien.
La,
Can you
tran-
say,
la tranvía estaba yendo a la ciudad,
La tranvía was going.
was going to the city. Estaba yendo,
Técnicamente estaba yendo, you could, but it's not super common. Here's what it will be common. Iba
iba, oh,
a
okay,
la ciudad.
a la ciudad.
This will be much more common. You don't hear yendo so much. Once in a while you do, but not so much. La tranvía iba a la ciudad means the trolley was going down, to the city, you see? O iba al centro, going downtown. Iba a la ciudad, was going. Sí, se puede. You can say that. It was going, and you're describing, see, because obviously you can still see it there in the picture, so it hasn't left yet, right? So not really talking about event yet, but that where it was going. Let me embellish on this just a little bit. We often use iba with a verb. I'm going to show you how. La tranvía iba, but now here's a second verb. Here comes the second verb. Iba a salir para el centro. Was going.
Oh, going to leave for the
Going
city.
to leave for the downtown area. La tranvía iba a salir. It was going to leave. Whenever somebody was going to do something, that has to be expressed as iba a and the second verb. Iba a lavar los platos. I was going to wash the dishes. Iba a empezar mi app de Zoom, mi aplicación de Zoom. I was going to start my Zoom app. Iba a enviar un email al grupo. I was going to send an email to the group. Anytime somebody was going to do something, we have to use that as iba a. Have to. That's just the way it's done. Bien? Okay. Más ideas. Any more ideas about our bus, our tranvía thing?
La tranvía estaba lleno y que tuvimos que esperar otro.
La tranvía, the bus was full?
Así que tuvimos que esperar otro.
I'm sorry. I'm getting
Otra.
feedback. Are you talking about estaba llena?
Sí,
It was full?
yes,
Estaba llena y
así que tuvimos que esperar otra.
Así que tuvimos que esperar
Otra.
a otra. Bien. The bus was full and it's a description. Estaba llena. Así que, so that tuvimos que esperar otra. Well, we were stuck here waiting for another one. We had to do this. Bien. Bien. Okay. Excelente. Oh, we're up to the 11:30 mark, and I'm imagining that some people are going to need to go and do other things with their day. Okay, bien, bien.
Sí.
You have some good ideas. We'll come back to those other two pictures. I'll add some more on for next week. I will send you the link to the Superman continuation. Yeah. I will send you the link to the first story with the couple of, all the things that were being pilfered out of the house. I'll send you so you can listen to that again. I'll send the continuation of the Superman story. And I've got another listening story just for listening comprehension, another mini story. I think it's a 7-minute story, and it's an encounter with a kangaroo. Ooh, but she's going to flip a lot between talking about what kangaroos are, where they live, what they generally look like, and then about what happened. So she's going to flip between presente to descriptions, to events, to more descriptions, and they're all going to become a big melting pot. But you're going to hear presente, preterito, imperfecto, all of those mixed together. So notice when she deviates from one to the other is very, very good. And it's kind of in equal parts. Okay, yeah? Fantastico.
Thank you for giving all this, excellent examples.
De
on,
nada. De
trying
nada.
to
And your
understand.
question on querer is a really, really good question. I'm going to try to find for next week some more of those emotion kind of verbs. Because I remember now that I think on your question, it was something that used to puzzle me as a 15-year-old. Well, wait a minute, why am I hearing both of these tenses with this? And it's an emotion. Because at some point I read in some book, here's always the kicker. I read in some book that was supposed to be a textbook. We use imperfect to talk about emotions.
Okay.
Yes, but. So we'll talk about the yes, but. Because I read it in a textbook isn't always helpful. Okay. Bien.
Adios.
All right. Gracias.
De nada, de nada. Muy
Gracias,
bien.
gracias.
Okay.
Gracias,
Hasta luego.
Marilyn.
Cuídense.